That's how we like if we're safe here.
Yeah.
Or not. When strangers come.
Yeah.
Rambo's cool with it. Me and Gilmar, we've got like weapons hidden around here.
Yeah, you don't know. This might be real.
Ninja stars. Mm-hmm. So when Rambo's acting weird with a guest, which has happened, we hold on to something.
Yeah, you don't know, dude.
You're just gonna tear into the couch cushion, and then suddenly it's just like a machete pops out.
We've got a guest, Gilmar.
Oh shit!
Turn to your right. Seriously.
Oh my god. What's up? No.
Nobody else is here.
Nobody else is here.
Not good news.
Everyone did.
And he came and left.
Yeah.
We may never know who that was.
I know who it is, but just for mystery's sake, I'm not gonna say.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have him on someday. He looked kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
He gave off a vibe.
Yeah, he has a vibe about him.
All right. Anyway, moving forward. No Prisoners podcast. We got Gilmar, Andrew, and Jillian here tonight.
Our main guest.
Yeah, our shotgun.
Yeah, okay. There we go.
Yeah, the main guest is
here. That was the co-guest or whatever you call it.
No big deal.
Dude, I thought you were fucking with me. Like,
That's what's so funny about this. Everybody's like listening to this right now and be like, wow, when are they going to get to this show? But somebody came into the room that looked like disgruntled or like upset or frustrated or maybe, just looking for somebody.
Looking for someone, yeah.
Expecting a different result when he got here. And he's looking at Gilmar like, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, hey, Gilmar, there's this guy here. And you're like, what?
Yo, the way I looked over.
Your face was like, oh my God.
Did you see me look over?
Like slowly. You're like, I don't know what to expect right now.
Dude,
like, you were like Dr. Evil in the chair. You're like, hello, sir.
Dude, I was so scared. I was like, I didn't hear anyone walk in here. That was crazy. See, you get lost in a podcast world, I'm telling you.
Yeah, dude. What if we all had our backs to it and he was just walking around and like later the cameras, like we didn't see the cameras and like how we used to do it.
Yeah.
It'd be funny, just like a random guest in the background. We had no idea. The ghost of No Prisoners podcast.
Oh shit! That one dude said there was energies around here. So who knows?
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
We should just call him the ghost.
The ghost. There it is.
Great kickoff to this show.
Yeah.
We're great at this, as you can tell. Can you stop?
Okay, I'll stop.
We're serious.
Yeah, okay.
Serious as hell right now.
Yeah, we're serious.
Has a heart
Just
attack.
like reset the face.
Yeah, there we go.
Bring it down.
There we go. It's
right.
serious.
I'll think about
serious
bears.
podcast.
Ooh,
Yeah.
So we have Jillian here. Jillian does JiuJitsu. Obviously, she's not a poser with this shirt on. What belt are you?
Brown belt.
You're a brown belt.
Yes.
And the unique thing about Jillian is you pick fighters and make fights happen.
I do. Yes, I'm a matchmaker. So not for love, but for fights. So
In a way, I mean,
they are
it can get a little,
half naked men sharing a cage together. So
there's passion involved.
Yeah, a lot of sweat, some blood. It's
Some hugging.
Yeah.
I think after
aggressive cuddling, it's
a good fight with another man, like him better. One could say you love him.
Yeah.
You make love happen.
Make love happen.
I know. Okay. All right. So it's not just violence. There's love involved too.
That's good. You're making. I think you have a really cool. I guess it's a part-time job.
It is. I consider it a side gig, but I put a lot of time into it. So
that's why I thought when I didn't know if it was your full-time gig or not, but I assumed that there was a lot of work involved. Because what I know about fighting, you have to really, you profile all these fighters.
Yeah,
and create.
It can be a little hard too, because it's not just professionals where there's so much, film and everything out there. Amateurs where someone's coming in, maybe it's their first ever fight. So it's trying to weed out the guys that are just like the street fighters, training in their cousin's garage.
The guys that are like, when I see red, bodies drop. You're just like, all right, buddy.
Daily, I get messages from guys like that, because it's the first question I ask, like, what gym do you train at? And they're like, oh, yeah. yeah, like I go into like my cousin's a boxer, so I train with him every couple weeks, and I'm like, so you just think you can step in the cage with that little amount of training?
These
Like
streets.
Yes. Oh man, so many street fighters just think they can just sign up for an MMA fights, but it's, I take a lot of time, putting these fights together because I care. We don't want to be known as this promotion like Art of War. Like we've got a really good reputation now. And I don't want to set up these fights where they're so lopsided, just to pad someone's record,
Well, you guys have built, a very, when I first saw a fight, how long has it been since Art of War? It seems like...
See, I haven't been there since the beginning, but we're...
Can I say 10 years ago?
Close to, I think probably maybe around 7 or 8 years.
Okay, so I've been going to these events for a long time, and the events have definitely grown in nature. So that's really cool to see. But there's two things you said that are... Like I picked up on that one, the one I want to talk a lot about, but it's cool to see you guys get it to a point, but that all depends on you making good fights and then also bringing fighters to the ring that kind of sells seats.
Yeah,
in a way, like when
that's an important part too.
You don't really like if you have option A and option B, and option A has 50,000 Instagram followers and used to be a college athlete, and this guy over here hates social media, and you don't really know anything about him. You're kind of like, well, this guy's going to sell a lot more tickets potentially. Does any of that play into the decisions, like the marketability of the fighters?
It does. It's a little helpful, but it really depends. We know that not every fighter that's going to come to us is going to be a huge draw. And, even if they don't like social media, they're still training at a gym, especially if they're from this area.
So you're investing in fighters.
So it's absolutely. It takes a lot to put these events on. So, and we know that these fighters are even amateurs that don't get paid. They're putting in these 8-week fight camps, and they're consistently training. We have guys that are available. They would take a fight on like a week's notice because they just train constantly. So we want to be
guys that are just always ready.
I know. Like we had we know Alex. Like Alex's last fights, he had to get a new opponent, like literally like less than I think 2 days before or the day before.
The one time it seemed to work out for him. The other time it didn't.
Yeah. I mean, that happens, in MMA. But, we invest our time in these fighters because we want them to be able to showcase their skills, what they've put a lot of time and effort into. So we really want to give them that platform to just show what they can do, So, and then the respectful fighters that really, get their paperwork on time, and a lot of the backstage stuff that goes into these fights. It's not just like you're like, hey, I want to fight, and then it's like they have to do a lot of paperwork, medicals, all this fun stuff, and like the guys who wait till like the day before to get their medicals done, they're a pain in our ass. So and if someone like we've had fighters, just really rude to us. And it's like, those aren't the ones that we want to work with every time. It's like, it's a relationship, and
I think it just sounds like any other business at that point. What's cool about what they're doing and kind of what we're doing is you have to make it a big deal for people to come to it, especially the guests. And like they have fighters and we have guests. So it kind of, it's reassuring that model. If like you take care of the people, that it'll grow slowly over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really cool to see.
Yeah, we've got, our homegrown Art of War fighters that are now in the UFC, because we knew that they were going to make that level. Like we knew when they were amateurs that they were going to make it to the UFC. So, we put a lot of time and effort and marketing into these fighters because we knew they were going to make it. And so they still come back to our shows, to support our fighters and everything, even though that they are, bigger time fighters, but they still show up and they want to support their teammates that are still on the local and regional level. So we know that we have a good product and they believe in us as well. So that's why they come back. They didn't just use us for a couple fights, which is fine. We're a stepping stone. We never expect a fighter to even stay just with us. we want them to do what's best for their career and where they're going. Because honestly, it's like for us, UFC, obviously they have fights every weekend. We don't. Like, you know, we're going to be 4 or 5, maybe 6 cards a year, you know, and if we have a fighter that's staying active, we can't really put them on every card that's about to happen. So, but you know, we do our best. And then if they want to take another fight elsewhere, then they usually still come back to us because they know that they're going to get a really good fight with us. And now they're still supporting us, you know, with all of their fighters. So, you know, they believe in us as well.
What does the organization look like internally in terms of like full-time staff? What does a fight organization like need? What does that even look like? Because none of us, I don't know, and nobody listening knows. So what is the inside of? I mean, I guess there's probably secrets. Every company, every business has like secrets and whatever. But what can you tell us?
Yeah, so I will say I think Art of War is really successful because it's a family business. So the promoter Mike Bickings, he was the one who started it. He's just got this really brilliant mind for marketing, like loves like the professional wrestling aspect of marketing when it comes to fights. So that's where he's, you know, gifted with things like that. And then so he does all the behind the scenes. So he's the one that's getting the venues ready, everything like that. And then you have his wife, Deb, who does a lot of the other backstage stuff. Like she handles all of the tickets and everything like that between the fighters. So it's them plus everyone that's working that night on these cards, to include like security, even people that are selling the merch and taking tickets. Like they're all parts of the Bickings family. Like they've known these people for years. So it's people that they trust that are working their events. So for them, it's a family environment. You know, like their kids all come to the fights. And
Are they Amish?
So they're not Amish.
Okay, could you imagine that? They're like, well, they're talking about family and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I mean, that's
they
what
don't
it is.
sound Italian, so.
But yeah, I think that's one of the things. It's just, you know, you have to have someone good at the top, and like Mike truly cares about the fighters and wants to make their experience with Art of War like a good one so that they come back. I worked for a different promotion before this. They were not a good promotion. Like
not all promotions are created equal.
Exactly. I worked for a previous one that, I don't think they cared if fighters actually came back. Like they used them for that card, you know, made some money that time, but if they came back, they really didn't care. And so they were not building great relationships with gyms, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I've seen across all businesses that operate with kind of a scarcity mindset where they're like, this is my sandbox. I decide who plays in here. And when you're done playing in here, you leave the sandbox. Or they feel like the people that are more open and caring and have like that open heart to business, or I don't really know how to explain that, if Gilmar has like a better way, but they thrive. Yeah. I think the biggest person that everybody knows besides Jesus is Joe Rogan. Like he has done that to comedy where the one guy that works for him that started the podcast with him, Red Band, literally just opened a comedy club like next to Joe Rogan's comedy club, and Joe Rogan helped him open a comedy club. You would think that they're like, you can't open a comedy club right next to me, man. Like that's not cool. But he's literally helping them do it, and it's probably going to help them both.
Yeah, it's good for comedy.
Yeah, like even for me, like as a matchmaker, I don't have bad relationships with other matchmakers for other promotions. You know, it's like they've reached out to me, like trying to find fighters who they know are available, or if I have someone that I can't find a match for, I'll send their name, you know, to another matchmaker. It's like, hey, this guy's ready to go, you know, if you have something for him. Because in the long run, we're in it for these fighters. You know, like I'm not trying to like hoard all of them for just us, you know.
No, these are our fighters.
It's like, no, you can't touch our toys.
Yeah.
Like,
if you want to have a fight, that's kind of what happened with was it when Dustin Poirier fought Conor McGregor during the coronavirus in Fight Island? Mm-hmm. They were trying to set, I can't remember exactly what they were trying to do, but they were trying to set up a charity boxing match. and the UFC, and nobody wanted to give Conor a fight at that time. And all of a sudden he's like, all right, I'll fight you. And Twitter, they're like, all right, charity for charity. And then Dana White was like, whoa.
Let's do this for money.
We're gonna
now.
do it for money. We're gonna call UFC 205.
Yeah. Shit ain't free.
Yeah. So, I guess that brings me back to my first question that I was gonna ask. When you have a very difficult job setting up fights because you're kind of like, with no disrespect, setting up like schoolyard fights between high school. Like, you have no information on any of these people. At least you have social media now.
Yeah.
But the thought that you are coming up, some of these people, like, they've never competed in a jiu-jitsu competition. They've never been in a fight other than like this first opportunity. So what goes into interviewing that, like, we'll say like the ultimate rookie?
Yeah, so a lot of the times so I get it from both sides. Either a coach that we've dealt with in the past, reaches out like, hey, I have this fighter available, or it's a fighter themselves reaching out to me on like Instagram or Facebook. And usually if it's the fighter directly, I have to ask a lot more questions.
Is that welcomed?
So, absolutely.
If somebody reaches out to you through DMs or something like that?
No, it happens all the time. It's pretty much like, even like my phone number is on Art of War's Instagram page. So that people can reach out, whether it be a coach or a fighter, But when it comes to a fighter, first thing I'm going to ask is, what gym do you train out of? Would your coach approve you to fight? Because I got some guys who just reach out, but
if I ask
they're
Dad
probably
okay
not ready, because it's, they don't realize that their coach actually has to fill out paperwork, for them to say like, yes, like this person is good enough to fight. So that starts to weed out some of them. But, I try and get a good background on them, if they had any college wrestling, what's their jiu-jitsu belts, any boxing or kickboxing matches, how long have they been training? I get a full background, even though it's not everything. And I'm also trusting them. I mean, I've also had people lie to me too about their experience.
Have you had anybody lie and then get real beat up?
Yes. Yes, that has
Why
happened.
would you do that?
Hey, no.
Has anybody done it to like get beaten up on purpose?
Not on purpose. But I think it's, I think part of it's the male ego. They really think that like I can go in there and I can fight, and they don't realize what goes into it. Like, this person like had actually trained before, but definitely was not at the same level as what their opponent was training at. And they came in and it was like, yeah, that was a shit show. Like, at least he didn't get hurt that bad. But
sorry, buddy.
Yeah, they don't realize that, yes, getting punched in the face kind of hurts a lot. So,
the next day for sure.
Yeah, so I've had people like that, just lie about their experience. Also both ways, trying to hide stuff as well. And then I look like on someone's Instagram page and I'm like,
nobody sandbags.
Yeah, right.
Nobody does that.
Yeah. I've had, a coach tell me, oh yeah, this kid started training with me. Like, he's pretty green. And I'm like, okay. So I do a little bit more research on the kid and I'm like, oh, he was only like a national wrestling champ from like South America. Like, no big deal. Like, but yet this coach is telling me that they're, a green fighter. And so,
yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so it's like I try to do a little bit of due diligence. If I can find fight film of someone, from another promotion, I'll do that as well.
Do you ever send in spies?
Not spies. We don't need to send in spies. Even though we've had other promotions send in spies for our shows, like to come check it out.
I would have volunteered.
Like, no, we've had people show up that we know work for other promotions, and it's like, I mean, I've probably been accused of being a spy because I support MMA because it's like I train, at an MMA gym. So it's like if I know someone, I've been in this community for a while now. Like, I don't care. I'll go to our competitors. I'll go to their shows because if someone's fighting that I want to go see, like, I'll go support them. It's like I don't care. Like, I'll let my promoter know first, like, hey, I'm going to the show tonight. So if it gets back to you, I'm not jumping ship. Like, I'm just there to watch the fights because I'm just a fan in general, too.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm not asking what the other names are because people can just Google that on their own. But how many other promotions are in the area, and what is the area considered?
So, I mean, if you're looking in like just Philadelphia, there's us and one other like bigger name, which they usually do a lot more pros on their card rather than amateurs. Another one came down from New York and they're doing shows down here in Philly. But I just think we're a different product. You know, I don't think like all fight promotions should be cookie cutter like the UFC. Like, we don't think we're like that. You know, we want to put on, like, we're not trying to just like pad some records and, you know, build people up. Like, we want to make sure that we put on a good show for everyone. So we want to, you know, match up these people, you know, with who they should be matched up with to test each other's skills, you know? But also we do go out to like Amish country, like for a couple shows a year, because there are a lot of gyms out that way too. So,
wait a minute. Have you ever had an Amish man fight in the cage?
We have not. We have not had Amish actually fight.
Dude, I'm going to talk to my guys.
You know, some Amish that want to get down.
I'm in with, as of this week, we're negotiating like deals.
Dude, you're in with the Amish?
Legitimately.
That's crazy.
Oh, like, I'm not kidding. Like, there's going to be.
Like, record them coming up on the buggy, like to get dropped off at the venue. And yeah.
Yeah.
They fight in a full suit.
I went to a meeting this week. It was intense.
Yeah.
Ate lunch with the guys.
They gave you pretzels?
No, there's no pretzels, but I got homemade donuts on the way out.
Oh, fuck, no way.
Yeah.
Amish know what to do.
You know, Andrew. You know it ends a good lunch. Homemade donut.
Is that what they said?
Literally, dude. Straight out. This little kid just came up and was like, that same kid.
No way.
That same kid legitimately was grilling me the entire time. Didn't say a single. I got him to smirk a couple of times, but he was looking at me like just kind of like stink eyed the whole time. And I had to ask the guy Daniel. I was like, "What's up with your boy, dude? Like, does he not see it? They call us outsiders." And I'm like, "Do they just not see it?" He's like, "Oh, no, I see he's outsiders." I'm like, "Dude, then what's his beef?"
Dude,
Like,
you had tattoos on you.
That's what I thought.
You saw
I was like,
tattoos,
dude,
dude.
he saw the ear.
You saw the
He's
ear.
like, why is that kid's deformity?
Yeah, why has he got a watch on with a screen?
It's echolocation. I'm like a fruit bat.
Yeah, now you are. Yeah.
Somebody had given these kids kittens recently. So they were literally riding around. They all have like these 3-wheel bicycles
Nice.
or like push scooters, and they're all holding kittens by like their necks. These are all like children in the middle of like the day. It's like a Tuesday.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the greatest place.
And they don't believe in stuffed animals.
Like, no, we're just going to carry around just a live animal.
Yeah, live animal,
it's
not
fine.
stuffed.
It's fine.
Good businessmen. So let's hope they don't get into the fight game.
So that
Dana White will be
bro.
looking over his shoulder if the Amish get into the fight game. Uncle Dana will have to worry about that.
that's gonna be some real organic fighting right there, yo. Some real natural shit.
Yeah, like spirit of the earth type stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Blessed.
Shit'll make you feel something.
I'm telling you, if you go to a show out there, it's like
It's great though. The shows out there are a way different vibe than the
they are
shows in Philly.
completely
How so?
different. So when you come to like a show in Philly, you get the tickets because you know a fighter. Usually, that's what happens. You know, it's like people are selling to like their family, friends, teammates, all that stuff. It's like we rarely get someone just walking up saying like, I just want to go watch the fights. Usually
No, there's
they know
got to
someone.
be like the single father who gets their kids for that weekend. And he's like, "Hey kids, I saw that there's going to be a fight this weekend."
That's very small. Like it's just not that many. But when we go out there, like middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, that is like everyone who shows up because there's nothing else to do that night. It's where they're at. They're like, oh yeah, fights are coming to town. And they are like the most respectful crowd. Like, you know, it's like you go to some MMA fights and you hear the guy, you know, like grab his dick and twist
Yeah.
it, and that's what
That's
they're
exactly what I was
yelling.
thinking about.
So you get
That's
that.
the name of this episode.
You grab a ticket, twist it. Yeah.
So you get those people at the normal MMA fights, but you go into Amish country and it's like people are so respectful, like they're cheering for both sides, and you know they just want everyone to win. It seems like it's
All right.
they're just happy crowds out
Yeah.
there.
I'll
They're
agree
not-
100% with this. So I have an Amish, like where she's talking about. Like I have a question for you. We went to see Alex fight out in the country, and there was a certain halftime performer,
Oh God. Oh,
Michael Jackson
Yep.
impersonator.
yep. That did not go well in Philly when we did that before.
Where is this? Like, how do we?
No way.
like she's uncovering the plot here. We had to have somebody from the organization on to find Michael. This guy put on the performance of a lifetime. I hope he was paid.
Oh, he was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. That's
He had multiple outfits. He changed in between songs, like in the cage.
I
Like
think
on the
he
fly.
injured himself dancing
He
as well.
did. That's why I was
He
hoping he got
did?
paid. Yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah.
What'd
yeah.
he
I think
do?
he went into it and just, I don't know. I think he messed up his knee. Like
We've been talking to people about Michael Jackson. My wife and I have been telling people at like dinners for months about this. That fight was in November, I think. Sometime in the
Yeah, I think like October of last year.
yeah, it was in the fall or the winter time. We had such a mild winter. It's all October to me.
Yeah.
This
Wait.
guy, I took Rambo outside, let him go to the bathroom, brought him back into the arena, and walked in, and it was like just to be about halftime. Alex had already fought. Everybody's drinking, and the lights go. And Michael Jackson, what is going on? And the performance went on for a long time.
It was probably at least a good 20-minute
No
performance.
way,
Like,
was it?
in the middle of an MMA cage during the intermission. Like, and that was the
everybody was
second
like-
time we've used him too. Like, first time though was in Philly. That didn't.
that was the
No.
that was the second
Time we've used him. Like we used him before at a show we did at the 2300 Arena, and
You thought maybe it would go differently, not in Philly.
I see. It wasn't up to me. That was not my call. That was all my promoter's call because he loves him. He loved the performance the first time and wanted to
think
bring
he's
him back.
excellent.
But in Philly, it was just nonstop booze. I'm pretty sure people were throwing drinks into the cage. Like it was not happening during that show. So I think that's why they decided when they were bringing him back to do it more like out in Amish country where the crowd is a little bit more tame. And
We'll see,
yes,
yeah.
so we had a much better audience that time. Like the second time we
Do
brought him
you
back.
think Philly rides for Michael Jackson and that's why they were mad about it? Or do you think they don't like Michael Jackson?
I just think it was the wrong crowd. I think, it's just when you're in South Philly and you're there to watch fights, I think they just want to watch fights.
You got to go into it
Like
with an
they
open
don't.
mind.
I know. I don't think they were
I wish you
expecting
saw
that.
this, dude.
Oh, dude, what did he-
I wish you saw
Were
it.
you sprained a knee moonwalking? What happened?
I didn't bring the right camera to like get it. Like,
Oh,
the footage
shit.
like isn't good.
Yeah.
But,
and
like,
it was like did something, and I think
He
I
just
don't know, maybe like
played
a
it off.
stud or something, like ripped a hole in our canvas too. They had to like tape it up like
Oh,
afterwards.
shit.
And
Yeah, that's because he brought his
Yeah.
shoes into the canvas.
Oh,
yeah,
of course he did.
yeah. So it was
Michael-
like
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, his name.
whole
He
performance.
might. I don't know. Michael Junkie Jackson.
Did he look like him?
He didn't. He looked like an unhealthy Michael Jackson. Which, like, if you say that about Michael Jackson, like, did he look that healthy in the begin with? You look like an unhealthy person.
Yeah.
That's fucked. It's not good. But I have no disrespect for the guy. It was like the commitment that he put into this.
Oh, I bet.
And nobody was like, yeah. Everybody was like, what?
Dude,
Like, it was
20
just-
minutes.
And
like
just-
what was happening.
And
It
just
was
and
just-
sent it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was, I think it was like we had to get him out because I think the commission was like, your intermission is going over. We need to wrap this up and let's keep the show going.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So that's one of the reasons why we're different. They just want to make sure that the fans have a fun experience, no matter what it is. Sometimes it's not just fighting and they just want to do stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was hilarious, but I have a sick sense of humor.
Yeah, I thought that would have been sick.
Like,
I would have had a good time.
I laugh when I'm getting beat up. Like, I got
Yeah, that's
problems.
true, yeah, I
Michael
saw that.
Jackson's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna ask about Evan, and if you can't say anything about it, we'll just like abruptly cut it. Like you said something racist, or I said something.
Split the bars.
There's rumors of Evan fighting in the fall.
I mean, he has definitely come to us about wanting to fight. I don't know if this is going to be with us or with another promotion, but yes, he has talked to us about it. So it's just the one thing I will say, like, I mean, it's notorious that the PA State Athletic Commission is one of the strictest in the countries.
Yeah,
So,
that's like I was gonna start asking about like what that seems to be a problem.
Yes,
at least an obstacle for him. So are they an obstacle or are they easy to work with? No comment. Boop. We just got
yeah. I mean, because I've had my own separate experiences with it. Like, I mean, I got denied to fight in PA based on like my age and stuff, and so it's, yeah. So
is that because they obviously they serve a purpose, and like, to be fair to those commissions and things in every state, like, they do have a job to do, and some of them are too good at it, right? So what like can if a fighter is having a hard time with a commission, like, we won't single any one of them out.
Yeah.
Like, what is, like, how what's the recourse? Like, how does a fighter get seen? Is there like a board that they can go in front of? There's no phone number. It's just purely up to them.
Yeah, it's just the athletic commissioner has the final say. Like, he actually approves or disapproves all the fights in Pennsylvania. And so he's
one guy
signs. One guy. You can get.
And is that like an elected position, or is that
it is not elected. It is appointed by the governor of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So,
so if you really want to fight and you're having a really big problem fighting, you wait for a governor's election, you make friends with the governor, and then you make sure he appoints an athletic commissioner that could be favorable to you.
Basically.
Otherwise,
that's easy, right? It's like, or I'll just say, just go fight in New Jersey, So we've had that, it's just some people, we're trying to get them fights. The commissioner says no for whatever reason he says, and there's no changing his mind. We've tried, sometimes in some scenarios he just says no. So
then why, or maybe this isn't the case, like, if a fighter's having a hard time with the commissioner, he can't necessarily just go to another promotion unless it's in a different state with a different commissioner, basically.
Yep. Yeah, so they're going to have to fight in a different state, maybe just get one more fight in somewhere else, and then try and come back and fight in PA. Because I will say, I mean, it's good and bad. Like, it's great that they care about protecting fighters, because you can go to some other states like Alabama where there's not really or Louisiana that's barely got an athletic commission, and they just approve any fight that comes across them. So it might be like an 8-0 fighter fighting someone that's like 2-10, and they have no problem with it. So,
and if there's no Jillian there to be like, whoa,
yeah, I mean,
this guy's a murderer. He just got out last week.
Right? It's like, it's fine. So some promotions don't care. It's,
and you guys primarily fight in PA?
We're only in PA. That's correct. Yeah. So
there like licensing and stuff involved in that, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, if we wanted to move into another state, we would have to basically work with a different athletic commission. So for whatever state. So if we wanted to do fights in New Jersey, it can be completely different. Even between these two states, like Pennsylvania, we like Pennsylvania because we can do pro AMI shows, which means we have amateur fights and professional fights. If we were to go in New Jersey, it's one or the other. It's either all amateur or all pro, and you can't mix them. So
just because that's just how they do it. I wonder what the logic is.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea.
It's probably not worth thinking about.
So every state is, completely different. Even amateur rules are completely different in every state. So
what are the rules for amateurs? Because in different states, I've seen, like, sometimes you have to wear shin pads, sometimes you don't, right?
Yep. So
what are the major, I guess, differences from amateur to pro, and I guess state to state?
Yeah. So really, like, it's state to state. Like Pennsylvania, for amateur fights, it's for fighter protection, but I will say I don't think it sets them up very well in the long run if they want to turn pro, just because amateur fighters, it's 2-minute rounds, no ground and pound to the face. Yeah. No head kicks, no knees to the face. They're wearing their shin guards. So it's like 2 minutes is just not that much time. So anyone with decent amount of wrestling can come in, probably take someone down and just keep them down for 2 minutes, So it's hard to do something in 2 minutes. So especially if you get taken down, sometimes it's hard to get back up. So it's very...
restrictive.
It is very, So then once they're ready to go pro, they're not used to doing the 5-minute rounds. They're not used to head kicks or anything like that, you know? So whereas they can go to another state and get full pro rules there, where they get experience as an amateur before they're a pro.
Does that happen?
Yeah, because each state is different. I think.
What state turns out the most like UFC fighters, I guess, or a pro MMA fighter?
I mean, it just really depends on, you know, the level of gyms that they have. But you see a lot like in California. California, their amateur rules are similar to pro rules. So they have longer rounds. You know, they don't have to wear the shin guards, and it's very similar to a professional fight. Whereas
It's kind of
Pennsylvania,
funny.
it's just not.
California, high taxes, no rules in the cage.
Yeah, no rules allowed. Dude.
You just pay the taxes.
Yeah, paying taxes makes up for it.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
I would
so-
think Florida would have like the ultimate rules.
Yeah,
Are
no,
they strict?
Florida, I think, I don't really know like their amateur rules down in Florida, but I mean, they do have a lot of promotions down there. They have a lot of fight camps down there, a lot of teams, a lot of big teams because, you know, nice weather year round. And so they got people trained in there all the time. So you see a lot of big names that come out of Florida, especially you got ATT down in South Florida where they
Yeah,
have a
that's
lot
really
of the big names in the UFC. But we have a lot around here too. There's no shortage of talent in the tri-state area. So we don't really have to bring that many people in from outside of this area just because we have so many to pick from here. So it's great just because now you can get the problem, you know, with amateurs is, you know, they don't get paid. So the only money they make is if they sell tickets. So,
Or gambling.
or gambling. Like they just take everything and,
Which
you know,
is
go in the
not
casino after their
illegal.
fights. Like it's fine. Hey, we're a casino show. Our next one, like just throw it all on the slots. Right?
What do we got to
So-
do to get you guys on DraftKings?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Can we bet on Art of War?
Or do you guys need like a bookie? Wink, wink.
Yeah,
You want a
I-
little underground?
I know.
Not
I
just
know.
kidding. Just kidding.
just kidding.
Commission kidding.
It's just I think it's tough when it comes to like, so I actually worked like HR for like a sports betting company for a while.
Okay.
So I do have a little bit of background in like sports betting. And so what you see is there's actually, so even though you do like sports betting, like if you're like betting like MMA or football or anything, so there's actual physical locations for these sports betting companies. Like the one I worked for, you actually have guys that are considered traders who are watching sports and they're like manually adjusting betting lines. So it's not just all algorithms being used. There's manual adjustments as well.
We've noticed because some of you guys, if any of you are listening, you're trash at setting the odds in the UFC.
Yeah,
I think the problem is though, because the last company I worked for, the people that did like the MMA stuff, they had no idea like about fighting, like none whatsoever.
We've
like,
noticed.
It was so weird. And so it was just, I'm like, what is the point of even watching this and like adjusting things if you have no clue what's going on?
It's always the best when the odds are set in the beginning. You're like, I'm not betting on this one. It's bullshit. And then literally the match starts and then 30 seconds, 34 seconds, 40 seconds, boom, odds change big time.
Right. And
Yeah.
suddenly it's like a plus 1,500 and you're like, what just happened?
Oh, he led with
It's
a
like-
head kick and you realize you messed up your odds.
yeah.
Like,
Shit.
it's like Connor's always favorite. I'm like, he hasn't fought in 2 years.
Yeah.
Why is he the favorite?
Always a favorite.
Stuff like that. You're like, this doesn't make any sense. Dude, that's really, we hammered questions right now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's a cool profession.
Yeah, because
Semi-
you said it's part time, but it
I know.
sounds like a lot goes into
I
it.
put so much into it. And I think like, even though I'm just like, I just call myself a matchmaker, I think my promoter like trusts my opinion in other areas too. So we're literally on the phone like every day talking about these cards, you know, about who I have as like as prospects and, you know, just other things we want to do, where we want to set up our next venue. You know, because we always want to get bigger and better locations, you know, that will make sense for
You
the
always wanna
fighters.
grow it.
Right, exactly. So it's like we have our show coming up at Live Casino in Philly. This is our second time doing a show there. And then our next venue, we're going to be at Valley Forge Casino, which is an even bigger venue. Like they hold over 3,000 people, you know, in their venue. So we're just looking at,
That's awesome.
you know, just getting bigger, you know, and growing because Live Casino, our tickets basically sold out immediately.
Damn.
Just because we had are big name fighters on this card. And so, you know, when we have these guys that are so well known in Philly, some of these guys are selling like 200, 300 tickets just by themselves.
Well, I mean, if you train at a good gym, you should have 25 to 50 tickets sold right there.
Yeah.
Husbands and wives, girlfriends and boyfriends. Like, dude, it's easy. Like, I think you have to put effort in to sell tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think, I don't want to use the word easy, but if you put the work in, you shouldn't have a hard time selling tickets unless everybody hates you.
Mm-hmm. And if they hate you, they want to go see you get beat up.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, there is also an
too.
angle to that, being the heel.
Yeah.
Do you have, like, who are like the up and comers, or are there people that you have fighting right now that are like, you have to come see now?
Yeah, so we've got we've got a couple actually fighting on our next card on June 23rd. So we have Earl Trouble Small. He's basically 1, maybe 2 wins away from the UFC. So he's
Which
right
one
there.
is this? All the fight cards up here?
Yeah, so these are our Fight Pro. So he's probably going to be a little bit further down because it's been a little bit. His fight got announced like a while ago.
Okay.
Because also we just had another show.
So there's him.
Yeah, so him, like, he's right there, right in the middle there. Yep. So yeah, he's one of the big guys in Philly. Trains out of 302 BJJ. Has been a staple in this area, has really good grappling, has been a black belt for a really long time. But he's definitely maybe like 1 or 2 wins away before getting to the big show.
Write that down, Gummer.
Damn, that's that's sweet.
Yeah, so he's
So that's June 23rd. That's 2 weeks away.
Yep, 2 weeks away.
This show will come out before that, so that's good if you want to get tickets to that.
Yeah, they might already be sold out, but there'll be a couple more available at the door just because some fighters turn in tickets at weigh-ins. So we have a couple left that we can sell at the door, but we know it's going to be a sellout because we've got so far, I think, like 12 fights on this card. And
the venue makes a lot of difference, I think, probably because if you can go to a fight and you leave and you go to your car and then go home, or if you go to a fight and then you go out of the fight and there's like a bar there and then it becomes a night, like, I think that probably helps your promotion if it becomes a more of like a whole thing, like you can come eat dinner and then go to the fight or different things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I
and
wrong?
plus, people definitely, they want to make a whole night out of it. So, especially at Live, they have all these options to eat beforehand. They can gamble, and then plus we do an after party at one of their bars there. So that people can show up to afterwards, hang out with the fighters and any of the special guests that we have, that night. So we have that as well. So
and the Live venue, that's down by like the stadiums, right?
Yeah, they're right next to, like, if you were on like one of the parking levels, you can look into basically where the Phillies play. Like, they're right next door. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really easy to get to. Love that venue. This is our second time that we've been in there. And we'll definitely have more fights in there in the future because every time we go into something like that, we just sell out completely. So obviously the casinos are going to like that. So
Yeah.
So we have Earl.
yes.
Who else we got?
So our other one, which will be like our co-main event. So we've got Matt Turnbull. He has been with Art of War
Which is the center of one.
for a while. So he's probably down a little lower.
Isn't that the one in the center, Turnbull?
Yes,
and
actually, yes.
Abdullah?
Yes. And actually, I love both of these guys. Hassan Abdullah has fought for us previously as well, so he's coming back. He's just from New York City, but he's a super talented striker. Matt Turnbull, he trains here in Philly at Martinez BJJ, and he's another one. He's got aspirations for the big show. He had a little, like, some bumps first starting out, and now he's building his record back up, to get to where he's going to get noticed. But he's a really talented striker and grappler. He's just a very well-rounded fighter, really popular in this area too. So he's another one. A lot of people come out to see him fight. So he's made a lot of fans over the years. So I'm really excited to watch him fight again.
Did Sean Brady ever fight in Art of War?
He did not. He did not. But he does. He was just at our last show, cornering people.
Yeah, I bet.
So we get a lot of the UFC fighters, they're still working at their gym and they want to come out and support their teammates, and they're also cornering and things like that. So we get like the Dacus brothers are there that usually corner people. Sean Brady was just at our last card cornering a fighter. So, we get a lot of the local guys that are supporting their teammates in that sense.
It's cool, and I think that's reflective on at least the sport of jiu-jitsu, that that mentality of taking care of your training partner.
Yeah,
it's cool to see when somebody quote unquote makes it big time, that they're coming back to help out or still participate where they started. I don't know, I mean, I'm sure that happens in other sports too, but I think it's very easy for it to happen in this sport because it's such a supportive environment. In order for anyone to train, you need all that. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's cool to hear.
It's not like so even though you're in the cage by yourself, you didn't go through your whole training camp by yourself. So it is technically a team sport because you just can't get to the UFC just working on a heavy bag.
Unless you're the guy that just sees red.
Yeah, right.
See me when I see red, bro.
Yeah.
Just got a chest tat.
Yeah, man. I've got a tattoo, but don't take a picture, but my mom doesn't know.
Photoshop it out, please.
Yeah. Don't make me ask you again.
I see red right now.
It's the guy that goes to the arcade and like punches that thing, and then his girlfriend goes up and like blasts it and hits like 1,000 pounds harder than him.
Yeah.
But then he's still going to try and correct her on her form. Like,
Yeah.
oh, no, you need to turn your hand over this way. Yeah. And it's okay, though. It's okay.
Yeah, it was reading your ground momentum. That sounded like almost too good. Like I might have heard that before.
Yeah, I think you might have heard that at a Dave and
I
Buster's.
could have used it before on like an ex-girlfriend. Be like, oh man, you just shamed me. It's funny because it happened.
It did actually happen.
Yeah, oh man, it's been a good show. We had a good time here.
It's like what? I like talking about like MMA and jiu-jitsu all the time. So it's...
Yeah, you had a match recently.
I did.
That was pretty big deal.
Yeah, so like that's my one thing is I do like to compete, but I don't get to compete locally a lot because I think once you get promoted up in belts, there's just not a lot, like it thins out the competition, there's not as many people available. And obviously I'm not like a smaller girl, so it's that makes it even smaller field of people to pick from. Okay. So I don't usually get like almost everyone in this area that's like my belt or my size, I've gone against them like multiple times because that's just pretty much what happens. And yeah, so I did like what's called an absolute tournament. So it was just 16 women, all belt levels, all weights, it was just tournament formats. And yeah, so it was a lot of fun. So with a new promotion called Place of Peace, BJJ, they'll have actually their second card coming up this Sunday, and I'm going to be on that one as well. Oh. So they asked me to come back for a different match.
Peace.
Yep, Place of Peace.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's so great.
Yeah, so they've actually been like sponsoring like jiu-jitsu athletes like for years. Like, that's cool. And so now they started to put on cards, basically, grappling cards. So the one I was just on a couple weeks ago, that was their very first one. So it's just over in New Jersey and South Jersey. And then this one coming up this Sunday, it's a men's absolute. So it's like a 16-man absolute tournament, any belt, any size. But then I have a separate match, like just a jiu-jitsu super fights against a girl actually that's coming up all the way from Florida for this match. So
she's driving. Who's the girl that's driving up from Florida to get smashed?
Got no shot.
Coming at my girl here.
We're
gonna put it out on that YouTube.
Yeah, right.
You remember the last time we did this?
Yeah, for Logan.
Yeah, for Logan. That was so funny. We had a kid on here. We're gonna have him back on. I was talking to him a few days ago. We gotta have him back on before he gets famous. Yeah, we might actually introduce him to you.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
So we had this kid. I'll send you the link to like the reel from that episode. Comes on. He had a fight with a buddy of ours, Muay Thai fight. And all respect to our buddy, this kid Logan showed up for the fight.
Yeah, he did show up.
And he was much younger. We did not know this at the time.
Yeah.
Shows up to the podcast. I love you, Logan. His dad drove him here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, who's that? And he's like, oh, that's my pops. And just like walks in, and he's literally got a shirt on that says "Henny ain't no thing" or something.
No, it was like anything is possible.
Hennessy, or his the Hennessy shirt.
Yeah.
And then he goes, so we're like, oh shit, like we're talking, and then like midway through the show, I'm like, wait, how old are you? And he's like 17, and we're like, oh shit, you've had like serious fights. You're 17 years old, and we start talking about how he had like this street fight. Is this it? Can we watch it? Is the audio gonna come through?
Yes. This is the Boscov's Royal Rumble story, though.
Yeah, let's listen to this one though. This was the.
Before I started training, I actually broke my leg in a fight.
Oh no way!
Yeah, it was.
Like
I hated it.
sparring or like.
No. I had some like legit beef with some kid in high school.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
High school fights. Now we're sitting there. Let's get this going.
Which was like
we're at the
6 months
the
ago?
mall, the Deffert Mall, and we're outside of Boscov's.
The Boscov's Royal Rumble.
You know, I still hate this guy. I mean, I don't really hate him. But
Bro,
I
like-
just dislike
There's
him.
plenty of hate here. I'll hate him for you.
There was a hole. I was low-key winning the fight. You know, I hooked him. He dropped to the ground. I started rushing him. He grabs me and he falls on me. But my leg is stuck in a hole. So my body falls, but my leg just stays in the hole.
In front of Boscov's?
In front of Boscov's.
Dude, we got to get this hole fixed.
Yeah.
They should have had the hole
should've
fixed.
sued.
The fight was scheduled. So this kid came in and we laughed so hard this whole episode. He had us going.
Yeah, he was
and
great.
he was just like, his energy was great. And there was something about it that, like, when he left, man, I said, I forget what exactly I said to him, but I was like, dude, like, if you ever need anything, like, I feel like you really, like, in 10 years from now, we're going to be looking at you in the UFC, because he was so young at the time. This was 2 years ago, probably, when we recorded that he was just training like, he was fresh. They were molding him.
yeah.
And it was, like, people our age, you wrestled or you did jiu-jitsu. Everybody did karate, but everybody has like their sport. Whereas kids his age are
They're doing everything.
They
they're
had
coming up with everything. now.
everything.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I think it's starting to happen already with who's that really big wrestler that just got into the UFC? But Bo Jackson, I think his name is. And everybody was like, this fight's just gonna be a massacre because it's like
Bo Nickel.
Bo Nickel, yeah.
Bo
I'm like,
Nickel.
oh,
Bo
Bo
Nickel.
Jackson.
I'm like, Bo
like
Jackson.
the,
I'm like,
Yeah,
he's
the
just going
NFL
for like
player.
that
I'm
third
trying to
sport.
think. I'm trying to
Like,
think here. I'm like, who? Yeah, I'm terrible with names.
No, that's fine. I had no idea who we were talking about. So
Yeah, so he came in and just dominated. So I think it's gonna level the sport up even more so.
oh, absolutely. Like even at the gym I train at, it's like we offer like kids MMA classes. So it's like they're 7 years old and they're getting like overall MMA classes already. So it's like we've got some killers that are like 14 years old that like murder grown-ups because they've been training jiu-jitsu, you know.
It's so cool to see.
yeah, my
I
nephew.
try and
Forever
tell
now.
people about it, and like parents don't believe me.
Yeah, it's good. My nephew's doing MMA, well, jiu-jitsu right now. He's gonna be an athlete.
Yeah.
I think he's maybe 6 or 7 years old. He's almost my height, just thick as hell. Wears his dad's shirts, like, and they have him doing MMA, and I'm like, that's where you should be. This kid should be playing football or something. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely send them into the cage.
Yeah, dude. He's big as hell.
Screw the NFL. They've got enough talent.
Yeah, right.
Right? You get the same amount of brain damage and you don't get paid as much. So,
I think you probably get less brain damage in the UFC compared to like certain positions in football.
Yeah, certain
Because
positions.
you're practicing like boom, 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 boom. I mean, well, there's sparring.
Yeah.
See, but then
that's up to
also
you.
you see like gyms, they have like a different approach to sparring now. Like, you know, old school way is where they would do like hard sparring
just
all the
smoke you
time,
out.
where it was almost like a fight. But then they realize, you know, like you're just getting so banged up before a fight. And it's like there's no point in taking all that like brain damage just for sparring to prepare for a match. So they're doing more like lighter sparring, you know, now where
Yeah.
it's a lot more like drilling based, more about speed, less about power, you know. So they're going into fights a little bit healthier because they're not just getting smashed constantly.
That makes
you
a lot
know?
of sense. What gym do you consider home?
So I train out of NPR Endurance MMA in Langhorne. So that's been my home gym for almost 10 years now. I started there and, you know, I'm a jiu-jitsu instructor there now, so I teach 5 classes a week. And, I got into like the instructing part about like 2 years ago. I love the sport so much. So
it's really addicting.
And it's just, I thought that, I could really share my knowledge, of it. And so it just, especially since COVID, we just like really exploded as a gym. And I mean, we've definitely got like the biggest facility in Bucks County.
I think the marketing that Eric's done there is also comparative to other gyms. A lot of them have stepped up, but I think he was one of the first people I saw taking advantage of social media the way he was, which hats off to him. Locally, I think that really helped his business, and that's a testament to him as like an operator. But the environment there, the times that I've been there, is really great. The people are always really great.
Yeah. We pride the gym on, having like a really friendly, happy environment. We want everyone to come train, even if you're just and we're technically in the suburbs. So it's like we get a lot of parents, that want to come try us out. And, we treat everyone equally. If they're just a hobbyist coming in to 1 or 2 classes a week, to our major competitors. Like one of our coaches fights in the UFC, Pat Sabatini, and, and he still teaches classes there. He's in the UFC, but he still teaches. So he's giving back and everything as well. So, we want to be welcoming to everyone, especially, all ages, all genders, because, at least for women, this kind of environment's super scary, especially for a gym like us. Like we're an MMA focused thing. Like first thing when you walk in the door, you just see like a ginormous MMA cage and guys are just like beating on each other. So if you're like, especially like a woman that's coming in first time, like trying out a class, it can be a little scary. So
what do you, what advice do you have for women, or do you have for just people in general to like help get more women in the gym? Because it is a goal to a lot of like the gym owners I know. It's always a goal to get more women in the gym.
Yeah.
But it just always still seems to be an obstacle.
Yeah. So, I mean, representation really helps. Having like a female instructor, and having, everyone that's taking a class is respectful of, that instructor. I get treated the same as any guy that's there, so because I knew my shit. That's not just because like you deserve that respect, because regardless of your gender, that it's earned. Yeah.
So
and
I think that's
one of the big things. It's like, we make sure that like the women that are taking the classes, they're helping each other out. We don't want like a catty environment where it's, they want to make sure that everyone's welcome. And also, training with the men can be like a little scary at first. But
tell me about it. Some of you guys are fucking out of control. I know some of you guys are on the sauce. I'm not going to mention names here, but like some of you guys are just getting stronger week to week, and it doesn't make any sense.
Right? So it's like,
and you don't shower.
Yeah, the stinky guys, man. I've had to have a lot of those
and
conversations.
if you don't have
if
you don't have the 5 o'clock shadow, shave it. Like you get like that fucking 80 grit sandpaper face. Nobody wants that.
And you're not training shirtless. That's just gross.
Yeah,
That's wild.
I've never done that.
Yeah, who does that?
Like this is not 80 cc's. Like you are not like put a shirt on when you're training.
Let's think about ourselves here.
But yeah, so I make sure that like all the men are controlled enough to go with the women, that they're not, just trying to Hulk smash them, basically. They're working on their technique. They're letting people work as well, because it's scary. A lot of the women sign up for the self-defense aspect, and it's gets you more confidence if you are ever in that situation where you might have to use some of this stuff. So it's, we never force like the women to have rounds with men. It's only when they're comfortable, but I want to make sure that the men are being good training partners for the women as well, because if they're just assholes to them, then the women aren't going to come back. And, I've been trained at gyms before where there would be like a class of like 50 people, yet I'd be the only woman. Not at my gym now. Like I've cross-trained at like many other gyms, and, you just knew it was a bad environment. Like if you're the only woman in a 50-person class, like I think like obviously there's probably an issue there, and there was, you know, they just didn't like training with women. They wouldn't give you the time of day, you know, that kind of thing. So, but
Yeah.
it's tough, but we want to make sure that, you know, that women are getting the same training as everyone else, and they're getting because everyone wants something different out of the sport. You know, it's not everyone has the same goals or the same intentions when they first join. So we want to make sure that they're getting something out of this, you know. So I don't want anyone to ever feel left behind or anything like that. So it's
a very beneficial sport. Gilmar and I have a mutual friend, Tyler, that, you know, I worked very hard on trying to get, I try to get everybody. A downside of being friends with me is like I try and get you to train jiu-jitsu. So, warning. And with him, he was like one of the first people that actually like took me up on it. And he got so committed to it, and like watching how it changed his life. I think it should be open to anybody. I mean, it's changed my life too. Regardless of like what your abilities are or your gender or size or anything, it benefits everyone in such a way that I think everyone should train jiu-jitsu. So it's cool to hear that you guys are approaching it in that way.
Yeah. I mean, even though I tell people on day one, like, hey, you're probably going to get someone's like ball sack on your forehead at one point. Like, it's going to happen to everyone. It's going to be uncomfortable, but just stick with it. You're going to have more good times than bad, but there are going to be bad days. So it's just the people that keep coming back. You know, they're going to get the most out of it.
Yeah, I mean, like the ball sack on the head's tough, but nothing's worse than like a labia lock. You know what I'm saying? Like when a girl's like really better than you and she just knows it.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm just going to smash you up here and just sit on your head. It happens.
Dang.
Not a lot though, as we've learned.
It
Could happen more if more ladies train.
Yeah. What's up?
Right? It's like, no, I don't care. Like, you just try and smash the guy's back. Like, it's
Maybe
perfectly fine.
Maybe the women, like the I see red, I think that might have originated with women. And then like some guy just picked it up from his mom or something, or his sister. Like, I see red. Like that's something my mom would say when we were kids. Like, oh, I can only see red right now. I'm going to beat your ass. And then I just took it to the playground. Right? That's why women don't train. They're just confident, ready to go.
They're badass.
That's how it is. There's a guy that's training at NPR right now that I've seen a fight, I think 1 or 2 times now, a younger guy. I think he's actually right there
Probably
in the upper left-hand corner.
Chase Moeller.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
what's the hot take on this young guy? I don't know anything about him. So I'm literally speaking out of my, what's his name?
Chase Moeller.
Chase Moeller. I'm purely speaking out of my ass. This kid's definitely going to be like the Chael Sonnen or like Conor McGregor.
Yeah, you can't put a microphone in front of his face.
He seems like he's got a lot to say.
He will say the most ridiculous things because he just
oh, I loved it.
He just turned 20 a couple days ago, so he's still younger. I think he has the mentality of like a 12-year-old though, you know.
Maybe we
maturity
could set up a
level.
fight.
So
Boscov's Royal Rumble.
Him and Logan.
Yeah, we'll get the whole patched.
Yeah,
I think he weighs a considerable amount more.
Yeah, he looks much bigger than Logan. Yeah, he's a beefy kid.
Do you think does he have a bright future?
Oh, absolutely.
In fighting?
Yes.
He
so
seems very dominant.
He is all in. Like, he is training multiple times a day. Like, his goal is to be in the UFC.
I could see that energy come out last time I saw him fight.
He's been training at NPR since he was a child. Like, so he started as a kid there, wrestled a little bit in high school. After he's done with the high school, he's like, I'm going to be an MMA fighter. And so he's now 4-0 as an amateur fighter, just won his first title for Art of War. So he's actually going to be on this grappling card with me on Sunday. So he's got a match coming up. So he just stays busy. So it's not just that, like, he gets
always ready.
You know, yes. So he's ready for whatever challenge. It
makes a lot of sense to me. There's who's Patty Pimblett gets like gains a lot of weight in between fights. And it doesn't make any sense to me. It's kind of like you're a mercenary. Like those like Navy SEALs, Special Forces, Marines, like whatever they're like, they're always ready to get deployed. Right. And like we know mutual people like this. Why do fighters sometimes, like you're a professional, like you have to be ready at all times, in my opinion, as a fighter. And if you're not ready in between fights, even if you're not planning to fight, like, are you a fighter? Or are you just like kind of just casually? You wouldn't see like Lance Armstrong like pulling his bike off and dusting it off like, yeah, we're going to ride next week. Tour de France. Like, you're always riding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always weird to me when fighters aren't all committed to it.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest examples, like in the UFC, was Johnny Hendricks. He was one just like Paddy Pimblett, like ballooned up in weight between fights.
And very talented.
And yeah, exactly. But, gained so much weight in between, then it just does a toll on your body trying to keep cutting that much. So especially as you get older, it's just not going to work. Like, keep doing that. And so that's why Hendricks had problems making weight and everything. It just really, it messed with his career. If you're trying to lose that drastic amount of weight in between and you're just doing these constant, weight cuts of like this huge proportion, like it's,
your body likes stability.
Yeah. So it's, you're just messing your body up for later on in life. And I think it shortens your fight career and everything, if you're just either just eating a lot more or whatever it is, not training, then that means like you can't take a good opportunity on 6 weeks notice, even for someone like Paddy, because he needs 8 weeks to be able to lose that much weight for a fight. So it's like you're missing out on some opportunities as well. Because I know it's, if you don't have I need 8 weeks minimum, to prepare for something, but what if something happens, and they offer you a different fight or something that would make sense for your career, but it's you can't do it because you're too heavy. It's for someone that's still, even though he has a lot more notoriety than a lot of the other fighters at his level, with only a few fights in the UFC. Obviously he's one of the next big stars, but he doesn't have that many UFC fights. It's, he's still has to prove himself in the cage, obviously. So it's he's doing himself a disservice in his career by doing what he's doing to his body in between. So
when you're looking at fighters, you obviously look at their discipline in other aspects of their life as kind of a precursor to how they'll perform.
Yeah, it's we've had fighters that have had weight issues, they come in a little heavy, and it's when it happens once or twice, we're all right, well, maybe that weight's not meant for you. We just can't. You can tell us till you're blue in the face that you're going to make the weight, but you haven't shown it the last couple times.
Yeah, you can only cut so much.
And it's the commission will only allow certain amounts of, weight difference, between two fighters, and we don't want to risk cancellation if someone is too far over and there's too big of a miss. So it's if now suddenly it's 8 pounds difference between the fighters, it's the commission might just call off fights. And that's a nightmare for us to have a fight called off at weigh-ins, because something like that, right? So it's now people have to try and get back the tickets that they sold in one day, and it's a nightmare. So it's, we want to make sure that a fighter's doing these weight cuts safely, because obviously, amateur level, the PA commission, even though it's day before weigh-in, they allow a few extra pounds. So it's they don't want someone trying to kill themselves for an extra 2 pounds. So it's they'll give them a little bit more leeway, and these guys aren't professionals. It's most of these guys, they have full-time jobs and everything. So it might be a little bit harder when it comes to this weight cut. So it's that's why I usually see amateurs, they're fighting a little bit more heavier. And then when they go pro or they get a little bit further in their career, that's when they start to do more bigger weight cuts, because they can kind of maintain it a little bit more. They're able to train more so they can keep the weight off and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Focused. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I only have one last question, unless you have a question.
I don't.
Would you ever pull guard in a street fight?
Oh. Okay. What?
I'm asking at this end of the conversation because she's an instructor, a professional, and this is a sensitive subject. So only the realists are listening right now, and this is going to solve the debate. We're going to solve world hunger and this.
Okay. So I admit I'm a dirty guard puller all day long. That is absolutely my jiu-jitsu style. I am sitting my happy ass to the mat. But street fight, absolutely not.
Nobody wants to get slammed.
No, absolutely. No. if I sit to my butt, then that means I'm probably going to get kicked in the face or something. Like it's not going to happen, you know. It's like, even though it'll go against all my jiu-jitsu instincts, but no, like, and all right, I have decent striking. I know how to wrestle. Like, and if I'm going against someone who is obviously maybe not trained, cool, I have much better chances. So my wrestling will probably work, unless, I don't know, like I'm going up against, like, I piss off Gabby Garcia in the streets or something, and I don't even know.
Yeah,
but
I guess
then I'm just running. Like, I don't care what's happening. I'm running. Like, you're going to get kicked in the vag and I'm running. Like,
Kick in the vag is another good name.
yeah,
episode.
labia lock.
Yeah, labia lock. There you go.
This is such a good time.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came. I'm glad you agreed to this.
Yeah, thanks for
you.
coming on.
Thank you.
This was
Told
good.
you, I love talking about this stuff. I can talk about it all day long. I would probably bore you to death, but I could go on and on.
You probably wouldn't bore me.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'd get bored either.
What's cool about this now is, like, I'm starting to think it would be cool to have him on the podcast, because I think
he won't shut up.
I think he'll make us laugh.
No, he will. Like,
That's what we're going for.
He's
Got a
my
short life here.
He's my class clown, like, that just does not stop talking when it comes to, like, being in class and everything. Like, he's a character, that's for sure.
The last time I saw him fight, he exuded such confidence, and when he got a hold of the microphone at the end, I was like, I can't wait to see where this
yeah,
where your
it goes
future is
all
going.
downhill. Like, because he knows, like he knows the difference between, like, really, like, he'll talk all the shit. Like, he will make it like pro wrestling and just say the most ridiculous things. Like, and he knows it. Like, you know, he doesn't hate the opponents, but, you know, he
that character, though, gets paid a lot more when they get to the UFC level. The heel,
yeah.
is what that, like, Andrew Schultz had Chael Sonnen on his podcast, and Chael Sonnen really dove into, like, what he was doing and what he was thinking when he was saying certain things when he was still active, and how much trouble it got him into, but how he had to go to, like, Brazilians after the fight and be like, dude, I just made you all that money.
Right? Like, can we just hug it out? Like, let's hug it out.
Yeah.
Like,
You should be thanking me. I insulted your family.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they were talking about how when he would go to Brazil, they'd have to send him with, like, armed security because everybody in Brazil hated him. All the shit he talked.
Yeah, who's the dude that did all the MAGA shit? Colby Covington.
Colby,
Like, you know,
I think Colby almost or did get cut from the UFC, and that's what flipped the switch that created, like, the Colby we see now.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and
That
then
shit
you have
works.
dudes like Jorge Masvidal. That I think he's just like that. I don't think that's an act. I think Jorge Masvidal is like just a bit of a wild card.
Yeah, he is a wild card.
I think some of those guys are just like he proved it. He sucker punched Colby Covington in the face in Miami.
I mean,
like,
you saw how he came up. Like, he came up, like, in backyard street brawls,
Yeah, Kimbo
like,
Slice
you
and
know,
shit.
being filmed and everything. So,
have you ever
like,
been to one of those fights?
I
on the
haven't,
the
but
YouTube
Oh, I thought you were gonna
fights?
say you have.
no,
The YouTube
I
fights
totally
where they, like-
would. But I've had, like, guys trying to fight on our card send me links to stuff. Oh, this was my fights where they were doing, like, these backyard brawls in Virginia. And
It's like a
stuff.
fence. It's a fence with, like, scrap wood
Yeah,
lined
yeah.
inside of it.
Like,
They were-
they're like, here's my fight experience. I'm like, that's not really a fight experience.
That's
but this was entertaining. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
my fight experience officially started. I'm not going to name names because the individual whose house this was now has an important job. But when we were children, somebody had their pool taken down above ground
Oh,
and left a nice sand pit in the backyard.
nice.
That's what kicked it off.
Yeah.
We had some kids that just saw red, dude.
Kids just seeing red.
A bunch of 12-year-olds just beating like
Fucking.
you, like, can't throw a hard enough punch, but you're like, like, when you're that age, you can throw the heat, but, like, it's like 1 out of, like, every 16 punches. You're like, oh, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
Am I grown? Is this puberty? Is this the power people are talking about?
Yeah, no one's
like,
getting knocked out.
You, like, start to think you can take your dad. Dude, you know what I'm saying? Some instances you can.
Go home, start seeing red.
Yeah, dude. Slamming doors.
Slamming doors.
All because somebody had a pool taken down.
Fucking sand pit, dude.
Seriously.
That's sick.
Next time, if you're listening to this, or you guys, next time you're driving and you drive past an above ground pool,
Think about Andrew at 12.
You're gonna look at it. Well, I was 12. I was 12, dude. Like Tim was 10.
Yeah.
Other kids could have been younger. We don't know. We don't know.
You beating up 10-year-olds too.
I was not.
Okay.
Age didn't matter. He was
Age
like,
didn't
nah.
matter.
They just all wanted.
They wanted the heat, dude.
Yeah, you guys all look red.
Let's just say, yeah. I guess I'm trying not to laugh so hard right now. Just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a time.
Yeah. I'm an experienced matchmaker.
Nice, dude. Two experienced matchmakers right here.
Yeah, meet me at the flagpole.
Yo.
Set this up. It's all right. We'll make a flyer for you and everything.
Yeah,
And
right.
get a school bus fights promotion.
some like color commentary, and you're set. It's like, yeah. You can make this happen.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, I know people now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
No,
thank you.
so much for having me.
Doesn't know what's the date for the next event? Is it the 26th?
June 23rd.
23rd.
Yes. So at Live Casino.
June 23rd. That's a Saturday, right?
It's a Friday, actually.
Friday?
It's a Friday night card. Yeah. So it's actually all ages at Live Casino. And then after party at their center bar. And so we've got like a bunch of title fights and definitely some special guests and stuff there. So we're going to have a really huge fight card. We're bringing a lot of people from out of state as well, to really, showcase everyone. It's going to be a badass card.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So we'll see you there, June 23rd. This was Jillian Peterson, Gilmar Andrew, Rambo having dreams on the floor. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you guys.